The $40 million business deal day finally arrived. Isabella, my employer, was unable to respond to the client's enquiries and was standing motionless. Then, Kevin, our previous manager, grinned and got up. "I'm sorry, everyone," he started. "It seems she has completely forgotten about the mishandling of the previous contract." Everything made sense to me at that very moment. Kevin set Isabella up for failure by purposefully failing to provide her with a suitable briefing and withholding information about previous events. I had had enough of seeing her suffer. With determination, I got up, moved to the stage, and took a position next to Isabella. I then took out another set of materials and started talking clearly. Kevin would be held accountable for the chaos he caused. Jason is my name. I work in sales and am 42 years old. My employer, TechCraft, is a manufacturer and installer of industrial equipment, but the duties that I am given are seldom complicated. This is because Kevin, my immediate supervisor, believes I'm incompetent and never assigns me meaningful work. I feel like a lifelong novice as I spend my days making copies and organizing files. On my bad days, Kevin will even send me to the convenience shop to grab his coffee. He assigns me menial duties all the time. Even though it has nothing to do with business and is entirely personal, the other staff members are too afraid of Kevin's fury to speak up. I wanted to focus on more rewarding projects, but I was afraid to ask for help. Since I was a young child, I have always been hesitant and unable to advocate for myself. Mike, a classmate of mine from elementary and middle school, used to harass me nonstop. Mike used to tease me, calling me kiddo and laughing all the time. I was not gregarious or sporty. During playtime, I would read books or compose stories by myself rather than play with the other boys. Mike would grab my notepad and make fun of me, saying things like, "Wow, you write stories about girls. You're very strange. Return it. Nothing is wrong with it." When I would anxiously reach out, Mike would merely mockingly wave the notebook. "Naturally, it's strange. You're here writing bad fiction, while we're all playing dodgeball or soccer. Stop it. Give it back." Mike harassed me nonstop. We wound ourselves in the same class our 9th year of middle school, even though I intended to stay away from him. When it was determined that we would perform a play for the school festival, I feared the worst could happen. With malice, Mike said, "I believe Jason ought to be Aladdin. He'll be fantastic because he reads stories all the time." I was astonished because I detested being the focus of attention. I attempted to refuse, but it was unanimous, so I had to pretend to be Aladdin. The princess in Aladdin sobbed because she desired a more attractive partner. I wanted to cry because I felt so ashamed. However, the play went well, and our class received a lot of praise. I wanted to vanish from the stage because I detested the attention so much. Everyone celebrated by going to karaoke afterwards, but I stayed home and cuddled up in bed. This is why I still find it difficult to stand up to people and become uncomfortable receiving criticism. I silently agree with my boss's ridiculous demands, believing that my life will always be thus boring. A woman moved to our headquarters from a regional office one day. Isabella was her name, and she worked in my department. Her features were stunning and finely defined, and her posture was tall and straight. I was concerned that she might be just as tough as Kevin, since she was about to take over as my supervisor. Isabella, though, was nice to me. "Jason, could you handle creating this report?" "What? Are you certain I can succeed?" I had never been assigned such an important job under Kevin's supervision, so I was taken aback and lost my temper. Isabella answered, "Yes." Everyone else said they were too busy to help, with a tiny twist of her head. "Don't misunderstand. It's not that you appear liberated." "No, I'll take care of it. I would love to take it on if it is all right with you." I was really happy that Isabella gave me this responsibility. I gave the report my best because up until now I had only done menial tasks. The outcome was an excellently formatted, lucid document. "I finished the report, Isabella. Is this looking all right?" "I'm grateful." "Well, it looks amazing." "Jason, it's well laid out and understandable. You're quite skilled at this." As I hesitantly handed over the report, Isabella smiled at me. "Yes, I enjoy doing this kind of work. I'll ask you again." I was pleased to receive praise for my job all day. Ever since, I found myself growing fond of Isabella. Isabella exuded intelligence because she was a graduate of a prominent university and had studied in the UK. Numerous male coworkers expressed interest in her since she was pretty and single. Like Isabella, they presumably want an attractive and intelligent bride. The men alternated in inviting her to lunch during breaks, but she consistently smiled and graciously turned down their advances. Rather, she kept working at her computer while consuming sandwiches from the convenience store. We shared a sense of solidarity because I also ate fast food at my desk. Despite Isabella's kindness towards her coworkers, she didn't seem to be liked by them. They said that due to her aristocratic upbringing, she was patronizing. It felt like jealousy to me because I had never felt that way. Isabella was attractive, had a lovely body, and possessed a remarkable education. Maybe others felt that her credentials were an insurmountable obstacle. However, the other women, married and with kids, would slander one another, saying Isabella was unable to comprehend them. I had sympathy for Isabella. People should mind their own business because everyone has different circumstances, regardless of whether they are married or not. The female employees would argue that having a spouse and children makes one feel complete, but that would be interfering. I could not put up with comments like these from my peers if I were a woman. But Isabella never became upset or depressed. Instead, she would simply smile and ignore it. I was contacted by Isabella one day. "Could you accompany me to the client meeting next week?" "What, me?" Isabella asked me directly when there were other personnel available, which confused me. "Yes, I agreed that it would be a fantastic learning experience for you because you assisted Kevin in organizing the paperwork for this deal. I hope you can make it." I had arranged the files for Kevin's projects, but that was only a filing assignment he gave me to complete. However, Isabella gave the impression that Kevin trusted me enough to entrust me with those materials. I would be delighted to join if that is the case. Could I please obtain the paperwork that Kevin gave me? Isabella's expression clouded at my suggestion. That is the issue. I haven't gotten anything, even though Kevin claimed to have given them over already. He says he is no longer in possession of them. What? So you haven't had a chance to view the documents? I was shocked to see that Kevin had not given me any project-related paperwork. Kevin maintained that he had completed the handover in spite of Isabella's persistent queries. In actuality, Isabella hadn't gotten a single contract or file pertaining to this transaction. This is not credible. I've looked several times in case I misplaced them, but there isn't a record of any transfer. I don't know what to do. I thus believe that having you, who collaborated closely with Kevin, would be beneficial. Isabella drew her exquisite eyebrows together, displaying genuine distress. I sighed inwardly as I saw how upset she was. This was most likely just another of Kevin's devious ploys. Kevin may have been upset about losing his job to Isabella because he still wanted to be the sales manager. He unleashed his resentment on our team, including me, in the days before his transfer. Though it was unprofessional, Kevin most likely did not finish the handover on purpose. I'm going with this transaction because it has certain problems. There has to be a scheme to involve Isabella, who is ignorant of the circumstances and the proceedings. I was enraged with Kevin for haunting our department long after he had left. I recognize, even if I'm simply an employee, I'll go. I am unsure about my level of assistance. Don't say that about yourself, please. You put up a lot of effort, regardless of your status, and it will be rewarded. Isabella's heart warmed mine with her earnest expression. All right, I'll try my best. Kindly include me in the journey. I'm grateful. I am depending on you. Isabella smiled brightly, and I nodded resolutely. I've been requested to go with her, so I'd taken my time going over the relevant files in the archives. Kevin had given me the task of filing, so I knew precisely where everything was. I gathered the most crucial records and gave them to Isabella. We weren't quite ready for the meeting until late last night, but we were eventually. When we met that day, Isabella gave me a bow. Jason, without you, this would not have been possible. Many thanks for it. No, not at all. Isabella, this is the outcome of your labor of love. Let us make an outstanding presentation. After arming ourselves, we made our way to the conference room where our clients were anticipated. At my job, TechCraft, we build and install industrial machinery, and we were attempting to get an order in for machine parts. Dealing with $40 million on the line, this had to work. There were several of our company's executives in attendance. Unexpectedly, Kevin attended the meeting as well. I was confused inside, yet the meeting started. Isabella used the resources we had jointly prepared to begin her presentation with ease. But after only 10 minutes, the meeting was adjourned. Employees of the client started muttering to each other, and Mark raised his hand. Before we proceed with this deal, could you explain the issues from the previous transaction? What? The previous transaction? Isabella glanced at me, seeming perplexed. I attempted to ask other staff members for clarification because I was likewise ignorant of any problems with the prior agreement. Then I caught Kevin giving me a menacing smile. What is the issue? Be quick to respond to their enquiries. It was Kevin who pointed out to me that we were being set up. Now, everyone was focused on Isabella. We asked for an early delivery, but it was ultimately postponed for around half a year. Furthermore, the product was supplied without fulfilling the specified requirements. How are you going to handle this? The other party explained that the prior transaction involved a project that Kevin had requested. Their responsibility was to produce and set up the equipment that the customer had specified. By the deadline, however, the installed equipment did not resemble the specifications specified in the contract. The location received numerous complaints as a result of the delivered equipment's production speed and precision being much lower than what was ordered. However, Kevin did nothing in reaction to these grievances and moved to a new role, handing everything up to the new manager. Kevin did not give Isabella any relevant documents in spite of this. Consequently, we went into this $40 million sale without taking care of the issues from the last transaction. Well, Isabella thumbed through her notes furiously, but she was unprepared for this. Panic set in, turning her pale skin even paler. Content with the mayhem he had created, Kevin started to talk. I apologize to all of you. It appears that she has forgotten everything regarding the improper handling of the prior contract. The executives started muttering, and a few of them sent sharp glances towards Isabella. Isabella was on the point of panic, overpowered by the executives' scrutinizing gaze and their unexpected questioning. Kevin appeared content with Isabella's circumstances as he sat back and crossed his arms. That's when I finally realized what was going on. Kevin had purposely delayed handing over the keys and kept Isabella unaware of previous cases in the hopes that she wouldn't succeed. He must have planned this to derail Isabella's plans and get back his job as sales manager. However, I refused to allow that to occur. Isabella is a fantastic supervisor that shows concern for her staff members and is a hard worker. I could take no more of her suffering. With determination, I got up and moved to the stage to stand next to her. I then removed another set of paperwork and spoke confidently, saying, I appreciate your ongoing business. We have taken all reasonable steps to ensure that the equipment continues to function without interfering with the day-to-day activities of your organization. However, the delivery date. The client said, we can't trust a company that can't meet deadlines. With fury. The original contract had an unrealistic deadline. I said gently, we needed your help to make that deadline, but regrettably, it wasn't given, which is what caused the delay. Kevin was the one who agreed to the contract with the implausible deadline. Kevin was looking at me, frantically shaking his leg and perspiring as I took a quick look at him. I ignored his annoyed expression as I presented the updated paperwork. Here is the original contract. Why do you have that? Kevin's moan was audible to me. It was during my preparation for this presentation that I came upon the prior contract. It was a lot of material, so I hadn't told Isabella, but it was the appropriate decision to bring it up. While our organization did not meet all of the requirements listed above, the reality remains that the delay cost us a great deal of money. We did all necessary repairs following delivery, as I previously stated. There shouldn't be any operational interruptions because you are presently operating the device without any problems. In response to my assertions, the other person began muttering once more. After calling the location, one of them verified that what I had said was true. However, because of the wait, we are requesting payment for the lost revenue. We want an apology and payment because the performance fell short of our expectations. The paper makes it very obvious that the standards that were provided were reference values. In addition, as I previously stated, the delay resulted from your lack of cooperation, and we've made sure there are no interruptions to operations. I replied once more, proudly presenting the contract. The other party hurried to get word from their business. We truly apologize for the inconvenience. However, the delay did happen. In the future, we won't impose arbitrary deadlines. I looked at Kevin, who was pale now, his eyes narrowed as he glared at me. The executives were now skeptical of Kevin, as the contract made it quite evident that he was in charge of the last deal. Even with the unforeseen problems, we took care of them right away. We will always strive to prevent any harm to our clients, as demonstrated by our prompt repairs last time. I bowed deeply to end the talk. I noticed the client's look of trust when I looked up. Everything you stated is accurate, as verified by our headquarters. We too made mistakes that interfered with our ability to work with your organization, but we value your quick response. After that, everything went smoothly, with Isabella giving the important portion of the presentation. We ultimately closed the $40 million contract with success. Isabella appeared relieved after. I am so grateful for today. You made it happen, Jason, and the deal was sealed. But how did you do it with such skill? Really, who are you? Well, just as I opened my mouth to respond, a furious Kevin barged over. What was that about today, and why is this useless Jason here meddling in the deal? I said gently, you should be more concerned about your own position, gesturing behind him. Kevin whirled around, his face contorted in disbelief, saying, What? The executives were standing there, staring at Kevin. In particular, Executive Vice President Tim appeared enraged. What does this have to do with the last contract? A manifestly unattainable timeline and dubious language. Well, it was just a small mistake. Kevin instantly bowed over, trying to think of something to justify. His haughty demeanor towards me had vanished entirely. We nearly lost a $40 million deal, mistake or not. Do you have any idea how much harm that we've done to our business? Jason saved the day, and you ought to be grateful for that. Kevin, who had always treated others with contempt, was forced to lower his head in appreciation, and his expression betrayed his animosity. The higher management, however, didn't stop there. Your work attitude has already caused us some anxiety. We'll carry out an internal inquiry and determine the appropriate course of action for your disciplinary action. Get ready to deal with the fallout. Please wait. I didn't do anything improper. Kevin, half-cried, was running after the departing executives, trying valiantly to explain himself. But when all of this was revealed, he was probably going to suffer some serious consequences. Once the disturbance subsided, Isabella turned back to face me. Jason, you really do amaze me. You've always claimed that you were simply an inept worker, but I don't see it at all. Oh please, stop exaggerating. I work as a regular employee, handling paperwork. Isabella never stopped looking at me with a serious gaze, no matter how hard I rejected it. What made you bring the old contract with you? The current negotiation might not have succeeded without it. It's imperative in business to support claims with contracts. Contracts are evidence. They provide precise, understandable terms that have been agreed upon by both parties, I said with ease. Isabella's eyes continued to swell. Be truthful with me. Are you really among the elite? You have a sharp mind, are convincing, and are rational. Are you qualified in any way? Well, after meeting her sincere stare, I came to the realization that it would be futile to continue hiding my true history, so I at last came clean. Actually, I have a law degree. What? You were a lawyer then? That clarifies why you know so much about contracts. Did you attend law school as well? Isabella's eyes widened in shock at my answer. No, I passed the bar exam, but chose not to become a lawyer. What? Why did you say that you were just an employee like any other? You have a lot of talent. I sincerely appreciate your saving the day. I was in a panic. Isabella thanked them over and over. Despite including it on my resume when I first joined the company, I had kept my law degree a secret from them. My credentials and history were known to HR and upper management. Given the size of the company, Kevin and my coworkers most likely thought of me as just another ineffective employee. I was always more of a bookworm, and my classmates made fun of me a lot. I even created books, but others made fun of me for it. Jason, you're really talented. That really is incredible. Isabella was always complimenting me, but I didn't think I was all that special. My goal in getting a law degree was to aid others, but regrettably, something happened. I was present when someone connected to a case singled out and gravely injured my mentor. When he finally passed away, I began to doubt the field. As a lawyer, I wanted to help people, but the thought of being so loathed that people would even assault me made me change my mind. Thus, I made the decision to live as an average employee rather than seek a career in law. Becoming in the spotlight is not my thing. Therefore, I didn't think becoming an office worker would be a good fit for me. Even though I had a law degree, I was frequently asked during interviews why I wanted to work in an office. All I wanted was a normal job with a tranquil existence. I got employed by providing general responses, which is how I ended up here. I worked hard at first, but as I got older, I stopped working so hard because I was warned not to overdo it, or that my efforts might bother other people. I was an exception because most new hires had only attended 4-year institutions. I came from a legal background. I was presumably viewed as a worthless worker due to my advanced age. Kevin treated me like an imbecile and assigned me menial jobs as a punishment, but I stopped caring. I hated being the center of attention in times of crisis, even while I yearned for meaningful work. Previously, my primary goal as an employee had been to avoid taking on responsibilities, but this time was different. Isabella's hardships were too real to me, and I wanted to support her. I wanted to help Isabella because she had always watched out for me since she came. She listened to the end with teary eyes as I told her about my background. I was a little happy to see her cry for me. Jason, you're a kind and compassionate person. I believe you're too sensitive to deal with hard facts, which is why you shouldn't have been a lawyer. I blinked in amazement too, hearing such wonderful words. However, that is not a cause for shame. It simply demonstrates your heart's purity, Isabella remarked, giving me a back pat. The negotiations went well after that. The client studied the specifics during our discussion, and we immediately drafted adjustments. We even finished the contract draft by the end of the meeting, thanks to my legal degree. The customer had great faith in me to handle the transaction in a timely and accurate manner. Our sales department kept performing well under Isabella's direction. Kevin's demotion was later announced by the executives. A transfer order was issued at the same time, moving Kevin to the archiving department. As the name implies, it's a well-known dead-end department within the organization that functions similarly to a notice of termination. Kevin's initial goal was to make a comeback and reclaim his old position. But rumors of his almost botched $40 million deal had begun to circulate, and people started to shy away from him. Within 2 months, Kevin's spirit crumbled from lack of employment and social engagement. He voluntarily resigned from the company and submitted his resignation. Eventually, Kevin was hired by one of our company's subcontractors, but he continued to cause issues there as well. Reluctant to let go of his former success, he constantly insulted his new bosses. In the end, he was unable to fit in and quit once more, which resulted in several unsuccessful job searches. Kevin's reputation had grown within the sector, and he was unable to secure a long-term job. He now works during the day to support himself, doing physical labor tasks like building roads. A coworker said that he was working hard and appeared ragged, which was a sharp contrast to his previous haughty attitude. I continue to work with Isabella personally. The only thing that has changed is Isabella's last name to mine. I finally plucked up the confidence to tell her how I really felt after everything. She seemed a little surprised when I told her that I had liked her when we first met, but she smiled sweetly and nodded. Jason, I've always liked you too. I skipped lunch to be with you at my work. Really? We discovered that we felt the same way about each other. We tied the knot. For business purposes, we use our former last names at work, but at home, we relish our happy married life. The best thing that ever happened to me was meeting Isabella. I would have remained a quiet, routine employee without her. I think that by sticking by and supporting one another, we can overcome any obstacles life presents. I took her hand as I thought that. She gave me a solid squeeze in return, assuring me of our combined strength.